This is our second video reviewing the Feature Edit toolbar. In this video we're going to review some of our line and vertice editing tools. So in the last video we had gone over the Feature Edit toolbar settings. This is the toolbar we're talking about, and we had gone into this dialog and we had set up our auto Z conflation task. And again, this is where we are conflating or matching up the feature to the point cloud surface. So previously we couldn't toggle this on and off. Now when we're doing any kind of edits or we're creating features from scratch, we can conflate to the surface if we want. Again, there's also the option to enable Auto Z constant mode. If you remember from last time in the settings, I just clicked on our Feature Edit Options dialog. In the Auto Z tab, you can also set a constant value, so when you're doing the edits that we're about to be doing, you could be setting the feature to a constant elevation. So as you can see, I've used the toe extractor point cloud task to create this toe. I can already see we have a few issues potentially. Let me go ahead and toggle the last display off. I can see that that toe is running up the ramp there a little bit, and also I see another issue where we might have some material on the edge that we've left out of the of our potential volume calculation that we're going to be doing here. So to start with, let's select the feature. I'm choosing this green arrow option. We have the option to just click on the feature to select it, but we can also lasso it. So I'm just left clicking and holding to make that lasso. You have some different options on how you can multi-select. With this one, drawing a square. This one you manually make the polygon by left clicking. You're not just holding down the left mouse button, you're actually clicking and double clicking to finish. We'll just stick with the lasso function, so I've selected this feature. The initial button here, this first option is select and edit vertices. When I click on that, it's going to highlight all the individual vertices. I'm going to zoom in. You can see with the toe extractor we have quite a bit of vertices. Again, we can use the simplified geometry tool. We talked about this in the last video, the settings for this. So if you select this feature and click on simplified geometry, we can get rid of some of those vertices. But let's go over this select and edit vertices tool. So if I zoom in here, as you can see, if I hover over the vertice, I can, a little hand icon will pop up and I can actually left click and hold and drag this vertice wherever I want. Because our Auto Z button is depressed, you can see the little green arrow pointing down. That means it's active. That means as I move these vertices, it's going to try to conflate to the surface. Now if I had that off, okay, I just left clicked off the feature. I'm going to click back on the feature. I'm still in this select edit vertices mode here because I have that button depressed. Now as I move these vertices, it's just going to interpolate in between. It's the vertices on either side of the vertice that I've moved. It's going to use the elevations of those for this vertice I've just moved. So it doesn't matter where I move it. If I move it on top of the stockpile, because the Auto Z is off, it shouldn't try to conflate to the surface. So let's look at this. I'm going to look at this in the 3D view. I'm going to go ahead and tend that. You can see how it just cut underneath because I'm just interpolating that elevation. It's just using, like I said just a second ago, it's just using those elevations of the vertices to the sides of it. This over here, we had the auto Z on, so it's conflating to the surface when I move these. Let's just go ahead and move another vertice to demonstrate this again. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to turn the auto Z on. Let's move it on top of the pile. This is not something you would want to do, just showing you how this works. And to save this so I can look at this in the 3D view, I have the option to save the feature edits that I've done. I also have the option to discard the feature edits permanently. Also, I have an undo redo. So I don't know if you noticed earlier, but I hit the floppy disk to save those edits so I could look at the changes that I made in the 3D view. There's no way for me to undo those edits that I'd already done. You can see I can undo and redo that edit I just did. Let's just go ahead and save this edit, even though it's not something we probably want to do. I'm going to go ahead and draw another 3D window right there. You can see how, because I had the auto Z on, it's going to try to conflate to the surface for that vertice. Alright. And I can just go in and put these vertices right back where they were. Turn the auto Z. I'm going to keep the auto Z on. I'm just holding down the scroll wheel and painting. Just move all these back, and then I'm going to save my edits, and they'll go right back where they were, and they'll auto Z to the surface. Zoom out just a touch here. Now I'm going to select that same button. If I select the vertices, I can right click. It's going to give me the option I can delete the vertex. I can select all vertices. I can unselect all vertices. There's just a few different options in here. If you right click, you can set the vertice to a specific elevation. You can shift it in a direction. So let's say I wanted to drop the toe of this stockpile down 6 inches, something like that. I knew that the actual base of the stockpile was lower than the point cloud surface that I'm seeing, so I could come in here and say -6, and it's going to drop it 6 inches. It's just going to be a we'll just say half a foot. How about that? So -0.5, then we'll drop it half a foot. Okay, for that vertice. Now if I selected all of them, or I selected the whole feature, you can move all of them in a specific direction. We also have the Add Vertice button. So this is pretty self-explanatory. When I start clicking, I'm going to left click. Immediately it's going to add a new vertice where I clicked on the line, and you can see I have the ability, I'm just left clicking, holding, I have the ability to immediately drag it to wherever I wanted to. So let's say I wanted to make some new vertices and drag them around this this feature. I can do that. I can also grab existing vertices and move them over that direction. You see how the little hand icon comes up, so pretty easily move those around that little bit of material on the edge of the stockpile. Now you can see this is pretty arduous to do it like this. This is really only good for doing you know, if you didn't have as many vertices for a feature, or you're just wanting to just add a few vertices. You weren't making, you know, a whole bunch of edits like I just made, like, you know, maybe a dozen edits. It's really not good for something like that. So let's go ahead and undo. We can see how I can easily undo and redo these feature edits. Of course, we have the delete vertice button to the right of that. I can just click on individual vertices. It's going to automatically delete them. I can left click and hold and do a multi-select, delete a whole bunch of vertices at once. I can easily undo that. This is the tool for this kind of situation that you'll more than likely be using, the Reshape Geometry tool. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. I've got the feature selected. I can see the individual vertices, and how you would use this tool, you'll left click on one side of the polygon, and you're going to be editing the vertices to the right of the direction you're drawing. So because I started here, I'm left clicking. The areas that I'm left clicking, I'm basically creating a new extent for the stockpile toe. So it's going to remove this little section here, and then it's going to be replaced by the shape that I'm drawing right now. I have Auto Z on, so it's going to conflate to the surface. Let me go ahead and finish clicking here. So notice I started on one side of the polygon, click through it. I'm clicking the shape that I want the stockpile to have now, and then I will just left click on the other side to finish. Well, double left click actually, so double left click. You can see there's my new stockpile extent. Again, it's going to be editing things to the right of the direction I'm drawing. So let's say I started to draw this direction. Well, it's going to basically remove the entire rest of this stockpile toe except for this little section that I'm actually trying to edit. So let's double click, let's see what happens. So I start on one side, double click on the other side that I'm drawing to finish, double left click, and you can see I've basically done the opposite of what I wanted to do. So don't panic if that happens. Like I said, it's really easy to undo and redo feature edits. So that's how the Reshape Geometry tool works. Let's say you were wanting to edit a feature with this Reshape Geometry tool, and you weren't wanting to Auto Z, you wanted to interpolate the elevation in between the areas that you're editing. You simply just unclick the Auto Z, go ahead and draw your edit, and double click to finish. There we go. Let's say, well crap, I actually meant to Auto Z that section. You know, do I need to go back and redraw it? Do I need to undo and redo? That's not necessary. So with this, again, with the select edit vertice option, I'm left clicking, holding, I can select multiple vertices. I'm going to right click. You can apply the Auto Z surface at any time. You can also interpolate. So I'm just going to go ahead and save these edits for now. I'm going to click this feature again with the select edit vertice option. Again, I'm dragging and selecting these vertices. I'm going to right click, so I can go back to the opposite of, I mean, I can just interpolate the elevation of this vertice and this vertice on this side. So you can undo and redo your Auto Z as much as you want. Alright, so now I'm going to zoom out just a touch. Let's draw a profile line. So I'm just left clicking on one side, left clicking on the other side, determining my width, and then I just left click again to finish. It's going to create my profile line. Let's actually make it along the edge of the feature so we can get as many points as we can. So let's again, I am using the select edit vertices to show the individual vertices. As you can see in the profile view, I'm going to zoom in. We can see all those individual vertices. I can move them up and down. All of these same tools apply. Okay. The Reshape Geometry tool, see, I just tried to use that. That's not going to work, but your edit select edit vertices, your add vertices and remove vertices. That's going to work in the profile view. Okay. Notice how I'm only able to move these up and down. I can't move them left and right. You can set it to where you can do this in the settings and the feature edit options. So go to geometry. If we look at the profile settings, we can allow horizontal vertex movement. Most people, when they're doing edits in the profile view, they're not wanting to have the ability to do that. That's why it's unchecked by default, but you can check that if you wanted to. So this is just a brief introduction on some of those tools for selecting and editing vertices and changing the shapes of these polygon lines. In our next video, we're going to go over splitting the geometry, so basically turning this into multiple stockpiles, and we'll use some of the tools that we've already discussed to do some more edits.